So let's run this getUserDetails test method and see if it's passing. And for me to do that, I will first need to start my RESTful Web Services application. So I will select the project and then I will run it as a Spring Boot app. Now let me check the console and see if it has started. The application has started. Okay, so now because I have restarted application and because I'm using the in-memory database, the database is now clean and has no records. So I'll need to create one record first. I'll go to my test packages and I will run the create user method. So I will select the test class and then I will run it as JUnit test. So the create user test method is now successful and we should have one record in the database. I can go to my database and check it. And I will actually need to also update the email verification status. So let me connect and let me click on users to select all users, run selected. And before I can log into my application, I need the email verification status to be set to true. So let me update it by running an SQL query manually. I'll select users, click on email verification status equals to true. And I will set where ID equals 1. And now I will select this SQL query and run it. Successful. Select all from users and my email verification status is equal to true. Now I should be able to run the second test class, which contains the login test method. And then once user logs in, we will run the getUserDetails test method, which will reuse the authorization header and the user ID which we have received in the previous test method from the getUserLogin HTTP request. Okay, so now let's run this test class, run as JUnit test, and we see that two methods are going to run, and the bar is green, which means that two methods are successful. And this is a good news. So let's open up the console and have a look at the HTTP requests that were sent. So if I scroll up a little bit, I see here this sending request. It's HTTP GET request to /users, which does contain user ID as a path parameter. So that worked. And it does contain authorization header with the JSON web token. So that worked. And let's look at the response. And here we have the receiving response, HTTP status 200. Everything is good. And here we have the body, the JSON document in the body of our HTTP response, which contains user ID, first name, last name, email address that we used when we created this record. And it has two addresses in the list. And the first address record that we validated does have address ID, and the second should also have, although we do not have validation for this one. But again, if we are creating a user with two addresses, it's good to add validation for the second record and make sure that the web service endpoint returns all the required fields, and those required fields are not empty.